In this video, I'm going to talk about the laws that are generally applicable to the wrongful conduct of the banks, and especially wrongful foreclosures and wrongful loan collections. And there are big problems. The reason is that loans are supposed to be contracts, and as you probably know, the main documents in a loan are the promissory note and the mortgage, which in most states takes the form of a deed of trust. So one of the bodies of law that applies are the laws related to contracts. There is both common law, which are decisions made by the courts that establish precedent for contract law, and there are statutes. The statutes that apply to contract law are called the Uniform Commercial Code, and virtually every state has adopted a form of the Uniform Commercial Code. These laws are extremely complex, and it is very difficult to figure out which article, there's Article 9, Article 3, apply to these transactions. And the main reason is that these contracts, or they're supposed to be contracts, are converted into registered securities. And I'm sure you already know that in the securitization process by the banks. So you not only have the laws of contract that apply, but you have the laws that relate to registered securities. These are also extremely complex, and some of the laws that apply to registered securities actually conflict with the laws of contract and the Uniform Commercial Code. So who knows what the result of that might be? There are thousands of other laws and regulations which apply. Some of those are all of the laws that relate and regulate the collection of debts, because of course these loans are debts. And you have countless federal laws, countless state laws that apply. And based on these laws, you could literally make hundreds, if not thousands, of claims against the banks and the related parties, claiming that they violate the statutes. But they do have one thing in common. Virtually anything that cash flows is securitized. Any kind of real estate loan, any kind of credit card debt, any kind of student loan, any kind of car loan, and even monthly payments that are made on timeshares. So, and of course, securitization is completely illegal. There were Hollywood movies made about it, like The Big Short, and I think Michael Moore did a movie, and of course we had the Occupy movement. So everybody knows that securitization is illegal. Every judge, every lawyer, everybody. In fact, I think I did another video on securitization, and securitization is actually criminal. So one of the things that I like to do in cases for homeowners is base the claim on securitization. And one of the things that's alleged is that they violate RICO, which you can Google, but you probably already heard of, both civilly and criminally. And there, like I said, you could probably make claims based on thousands of other statutes and regulations, but I really try to avoid doing that. All it does is give the other lawyers the chance to come back and argue about those things and make the cases a lot more complicated and a lot more expensive and a lot more difficult. And I strongly believe in keeping things simple. And actually, even though securitization is incredibly complex, it can be made very, very simple. In the very first case I handled in San Diego, when I went to the court hearing, I simply said this. I said, Judge, would you please take a quick look at the promissory note and the deed of trust and look at the names of the parties? And she did. It was Irma Gonzalez, who was a superb federal court judge. And I said, now look at the names of the people who have been trying to foreclose and who are here in court today. And you will see that none of their names appear anywhere in any of the documents used to originate this loan, including the promissory note and the deed of trust. So something is going on, and I would request that you have these lawyers. There were, 10 lawyers or something like that from all the big law firms from the banks. And I would request that you ask them to explain why they're here. And so she did. And these were, of course, mostly younger associates, not the senior partners in the law firms. And they started scrambling their papers and frantically looking for something that would help them. And it became obvious that they weren't going to be able to do that. So the judge granted the restraining order stopping any foreclosure. So you can really just ask the judge to ask them questions. They're the ones that are trying to collect the loan. They're the ones that are trying to foreclose. So legally, they should be the ones that have to prove that they have the right to do it. It shouldn't be the responsibility of the homeowner to have to try to explain securitization with all its incredible complexities and why all these various thousands of laws apply. Many of the complaints filed by the investors in the cases that they brought, the investors in the securitized investments, their complaints are hundreds of pages long. So if the court wants to understand why securitization is illegal and all the problems with it, all you have to do is refer the judge to one of those complaints. And the judge will have hundreds of pages of evidence as to why securitization is illegal. But again, it's unlikely the judge is going to do that. Judges are very busy, and people submit these securitization and other loan audits that they have to try to prove their case, which is usually a mistake. Loan audits typically are hearsay and are not admissible, even from these companies who create affidavits, sworn affidavits, testifying that the facts in them are true. They are admissible in certain motions, like motions to dismiss or motions for summary judgment. But again, judges are busy, and some of these audits are hundreds of pages, and the judge is probably not going to take the time to go through those hundreds of pages and even try to understand the many laws that have been violated. So again, it is my suggestion that you put the burden where it belongs. And it should be on the people that are trying to foreclose and trying to collect these illegal loans. I could go on and on about all these different laws, the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, the Truth in Lending Act, and many of these laws that people try to allege in their lawsuits. But what I would recommend as far as that's concerned is the National Consumer Law Center has a series of books. And as far as I can tell, they are among the best books on this subject. And you can get the whole series. You can subscribe online. I don't remember how much it costs. And then you will get access to their full library if you want it. And they have excellent forums too. And as far as I know, that is the best source if you really want to get into the law. But the problem is that law enforcement is not enforcing the law. In fact, what I recently discovered is law enforcement is not enforcing the law at all, no matter what has been done, unless it's in the press. In fact, I think the FBI publicly says that it is most interested in crimes that are reported in the press. Now, there's a problem with the press. We have this 24-hour news cycle that keeps them extremely busy, and it's impossible. I've tried. It's almost impossible to get their attention. Hopefully, when someone gets arrested, that usually does it. That usually gets their attention. And I'm hoping as a result of this hearing on Friday, this trial, that somebody will get arrested. I am asking the judge for an order that law enforcement assist me in making what's called a citizen's arrest. All 50 states have citizen's arrest laws. In many states, like California, there are specific statutes that allow for it. In Washington, where I am, there's no specific statute, but nonetheless, it is well established in the law. I have demanded repeatedly. The police in my cases, even though they clearly know serious crimes have been committed, have refused to do anything. There's an interesting phenomenon that goes on when I'm involved. Everybody goes dark. Nobody will say a word. Nobody responds to my emails. Nobody responds to my phone calls. And in court cases, the judges will do nothing. In the Clallam Superior Court, which is one of the courts where one of my personal cases is pending, one judge, Judge Baston, as soon as he saw my name, recused himself. So the judge that's going to hear the trial on Friday is a former Assistant State Attorney General. Now he's a judge, which of course is the ultimate law enforcement officer. At least they're supposed to be. And the main relief I'm asking for is that he issue an order that law enforcement assist me in doing citizens' arrests. I can't do them on my own. I'm not going to physically try to take control of somebody and risk violence. There's been enough violence and there's a lot more coming. So I'm hopeful the judge will do the right thing. Then there are many people that can be arrested. I'm going to start with the people who are related to my personal case, which has been going on since, 2010. Then there's the case of Lenny Dykstra, and there are many people related to his case that should be arrested. Then there's the case of Robert Otis Griffith, a former Minnesota Viking, and there are many people involved in his case that should be arrested. And then there are many other high-profile people who I've tried to help, against whom many serious crimes were committed, like Nicholas Marsh III and Todd Macaluso and Michael Winston and others. And it would give me great satisfaction to go around the country and arrest these people. But it would take a very brave judge to do it. And I don't know whether this judge that's going to hear the case on Friday is brave enough to do it or not. I've notified many people in the press about this trial, including the Seattle Times, including the press in Philadelphia, because they really like to follow Lenny Dykstra. And I have no idea whether they're going to show up or not. But we will see. If they don't show up, then I hope to be able to start arresting people. And that usually results in the press paying attention. On the next video, I'm going to talk about two of the worst criminals I have encountered by far. But this video is probably getting a little long, so I will stop it here.